Sports talk from Montana for Montana. Live from the Kurtz Polaris studio, here is Ryan Tootell and Coulter Nuanez.
Hello, Montana. Happy Bobby Bonilla Day. And as it relates, what are the worst contracts in the history of sports? And head coach of the University of Montana Grizzlies, Travis DeCuire. Hi, boys and girls. How are you? Great to be with you on this very fine Wednesday afternoon. Hope you are having an excellent day. We are certainly happy to be on board with all of you around Western Montana on ESPN Radio and across the state on SWX Montana Television. Howdy. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it very much. If you would like to listen live on your tablets, devices, computers, what have you, you go to the World Wide Web, which is where you go for, well, everything, right? That's right. 1029ESPN.com. That's where you go. You listen live on the stream all the time. The stream is available anytime you would like it. Thanks to our friends at Opportunity Bank. Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. If you'd like to pick up your phone and call, well, that's all right as well. 361-3688, area code 406-361-3688. All guests join us via the Rankage Brothers RV phone line. Let's take a look at what we have in the show today. It is Bobby Bonilla Day. You may have heard about this in past years. This is funny because this went about a decade, not quite. It went about 5, 6, 7 years before anybody really noticed. And now in the last couple of years, this has really gained some momentum and some notoriety, as it should. But Bobby Bonilla today receives a check that is just a shade under $1.2 million from the New York Metropolitans, and he will every July 1st until 2035. It's a pretty good deal that he's got set up, rolling out there with, the better part of about $35 million he's going to collect on what was under $6 million in owed money at the time of his retirement or being released from the Mets in 2000. So, it's called interest. It's called playing your cards right, and it's called not getting caught up in a Ponzi scheme like the Mets did, which is such a metaphor for the Mets in so many ways. So we will use that as a jumping off point to get into the worst contracts in the history of sports that Coulter has compiled and go through those a little bit. We also, on a Wednesday, we're going to have a Wing It Wednesday. I'm so pulped up. I got great questions here, some great trivia questions on some human geography stuff and some sports stuff and some other for you. You call us here in about half an hour from now. We'll send you over to the Desperado Sports Tavern for free wings, the best wings in the city of Missoula over at the Desperado, as well as possibly a shirt if you're very good at this. So we'll get into that as well. Top of the hour, very excited to have Travis DeCuire, the head coach of the University of Montana men's basketball team. Got a chance to catch up with him via Zoom today. He is back in town after having been in Seattle for reasons which will become clear during the course of the conversation, but an exciting time in the life of Travis DeCuire and his family, and now back at the University of Montana in Missoula and gearing up for what he hopes is summer basketball and the opportunity to start to get his ducks in a row in what he said is probably his most talented roster, top to bottom, all 13, 16 guys, whatever you got on there. It's a high-end group, and that is playing for this Montana Grizzly team this season. So we'll get into all that stuff with Coach DeCuire at the top of the hour. Another Wing It Wednesday as well. So there you go. That is the show outlook. Coulter, how you doing over there? We're in, it's a nice light yellow.
That's right.
Okay.
What, were you searching for like something else?
No, I was going to say mustard, but it's not really.
It's not. It's just canary yellow.
Canary. There we go. That's better. Okay.
Yep. Do you know the symbolism of the canary in the mine shaft?
No.
They always have a canary in underground mines.
Okay.
Because canaries, they signal danger and or their own demise by singing as loud as they can when they know it's about to all end. So if you ever heard the canary singing in the mine shaft, you knew that the gas was leaking, so to speak.
Time to get the heck out of there.
Got to go.
Yeah. I did not know that.
So there's always the symbol of the canary in the cage in the corner of the mine shaft.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Mm-hmm. Excellent. That's an excellent piece of knowledge to have. Mm-hmm. Coulter, let's talk about some contracts, shall we?
Let's do it.
Did we mention tomorrow's our last day before vacation? So
you've been pumping it up so much that, I mean, I have nothing better to do than work. And in fact, this is the only thing in my life that actually gives me any sort of productive fulfillment is sitting here with you. And so, vacations are largely irrelevant for me unless I've saved up enough money to play 54 holes of golf per day. But,
how's your back?
Dude, I stretch so much.
Man.
My back feels fine.
Just twisting all the time like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I play old man game now.
You don't rotate at the hips. You rotate at the everything.
Uh-huh.
Like it's a full 180 spin.
Uh-huh.
It's great. It's fluid.
Thanks.
Bobby Bonilla today receives $1.2 million from the New York Mets every July 1st, starting in 2011 and running through 2035. That's right, boys and girls, 25 years. $1.2 million on the 1st of July every single year. This is coming out of his playing days with the Mets. At the end of his tenure with the Mets, the year 2000, they struck a deal where he was set to receive $5.9 million was the payout. They chose not to pay him the lump sum. He negotiated a deferred payment, which started 11 years after the fact. So it was already, he got no money from 2000 to 2011 from the Mets. So it's a long stretch to wait. But he accrued, are you ready, a very tidy 8% interest on that sum each and every year from that point, and it continues to accrue as we go, thus working out to $1.2 million a year. On July the 1st, the $5.9 million was not paid because the Mets had a better investment, which would yield a better return over time than the 8% that they were going to give to Bobby Bonilla. Now, listen, I'm aware that there are investments that can do you very well. I'm aware that there are things that, financiers get involved in and they can make incredible returns on. And even if they're making standard returns, that they can maybe beat an 8%. What I'm saying to you is if you have an investment that's going to give you better than 8%, say better than 10%, you should be just very, very sure of it. The Mets were very sure of it. They invested with Bernie Madoff. And they lost the house like everybody else did on the Ponzi scheme. And guess what? They're still paying this amount of money. Now, $1.2 million is not an unaffordable figure for a professional baseball team. I'm aware of that. Nonetheless, it does make me smile. This is sort of like, this is in a certain way, we talked about the wildlife beating the humans in the park yesterday. Mm-hmm. This is the owners and the people who are supposed to be professionals at this and supposed to be so good at this absolutely losing in every possible way to a baseball player on the finances of this. And it brings me great joy, and I will celebrate this day each and every year, though I will not be seeing $1.2 million today. I will share in the joy of beating the house, as it were.
It makes me laugh every year.
Every year.
When you put it in perspective, this year with all the prorated contracts, I mean, this first popped up on my news feed because I follow a guy who covers the the San Francisco Giants, and his tweet was that Bobby Bonilla will get paid today more than everybody but 8 players on the San Francisco Giants will get paid this season because of the prorated salaries. Bobby Bonilla is going to make more money this year than Hunter Pence. Hunter Pence is an all-star who's still playing.
That's right. Do you know who the highest paid player is this year?
In Major League Baseball?
Baseball?
Garrett Cole?
But no. Yes, but who will actually receive the most from his baseball team? Prince Fielder.
Oh, wow.
He's getting $24 million, not prorated,
right,
thank you very much,
right.
in his post, buyout contract, whatever. So shout out to Prince on this.
Yeah,
well.
I think the duration of the Bobby Bonilla deal combined with the fact that Bobby Bonilla was an all-star for the Pittsburgh Pirates in the early 90s, but then largely irrelevant and a guy that represented someone that got a big contract and then basically fizzled out. We're going to get into that dynamic because I do think it's interesting. I think so often when you get paid, the fact that you got paid, the news of it is such a distraction that it can hinder your career. But before we get into some of the worst contracts in pro sports history, and I made a whole list here today, other guys that are continuing to get paid, even though they've already retired. Tim Duncan just collected his last check from the San Antonio Spurs of $1.8 million. Jay Cutler will make $2 million this year and next year from the Chicago Bears. Kevin Garnett will get paid $35 million per season until 2023. He retired in 2016. He gets $35 million a year for 7 years. So Kevin Garnett, that means, is the fourth highest paid player in the NBA today.
He's getting that from Boston?
From New Jersey, from Brooklyn.
Oh, right, from that. Yeah.
$35 million a year for 7 years. Think of that. That's more than everybody in the league besides LeBron James and Steph Curry. He's retired.
Yes, he is.
Unbelievable. Kevin Garnett, maybe better at negotiating contracts than anybody in the history of basketball.
And also has been documented, the Brooklyn Nets, not so much.
Well, and we're going to get into that too because one of the guys on the list is also Brooklyn Net. But, I mean, Kevin Garnett, by the time it's all said and done, will have made $400 million in salary. Salary, not just endorsements, salary. Tony Romo will collect his last $5 million check after next season. Todd Helton, $1.3 million from 2013 through 2023. So that's Bobby Bonilla-esque. Josh Smith from the Detroit Pistons, formerly of the Atlanta Hawks, most famously of the Atlanta Hawks, but most recently of the Detroit Pistons, $5.3 million a year through the end of this season. Manny Ramirez, $2 million a year until 2026. But the best one on this whole, another interesting one, before we get to the best one, another interesting one is Ichiro Suzuki. The Mariners, this is so Mariners and so Ichiro. They said they will pay him $25 million at some point along the lines by 2032. Only the Mariners would say that, and only Ichiro would agree. Okay, we trust each other. You know, your word is good. You can pay me the $25 million whenever you get around to it over the next 13 years.
How about that?
I mean, isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it is.
It's so funny, right?
Is it got to be at one time, or is it they just have to accrue to $25 million by that time?
It just has to be, $25 million.
So they could pay him $2 million now.
They could pay him $1 a day until they figure out how to pay the rest of it. Yeah. This is a funny one. Brett Saberhagen, who retired in 2001, his back-end prorated contract didn't kick in until 2015, and he will get paid $250,000 every year for 30 years. But the absolute all-time funniest one, Steve Young, after he won the Heisman Trophy at BYU, he was one of the first, and certainly with the exception of Herschel Walker, the most prominent player that signed with the USFL instead of the NFL. When he signed with the Los Angeles Express of the USFL in 1984, he signed a 43-year, $43 million contract. Steve Young.
What?
Steve Young will make $1 million per year until 2037. No, 2027. 2027. So he's got 7 more years of $1 million a year. 43-year, $43 million contract.
Who's paying that? I mean, no, I guess I can't say that. I was going to say the President of the United States used to be the owner of the Los Angeles Express, but that's actually not true. Donald Trump owned the Washington Generals. Some other, yeah.
Herschel Walker's team.
Okay, yeah. But do you think, I mean, if the whole thing goes kaput, does that not, I mean, I'm interested to know about the present state of affairs.
J. William Oldenburg is the person that's expected to pay that contract.
Wow. Here's the thing. We go through these and everybody gets a chuckle. It is very common for players at the end of their career when their contracts have lasted longer than their skill sets that they end up being released, and in baseball especially where the contracts are guaranteed, that you are due those sums. And clubs will negotiate terms with these guys, either if they have space to pay them early and get it done, or more often to extend it out and stretch it out so that they have space to bring on other guys and they can kind of defer the payments over time, pay in total a higher amount, but that allows them more quote-unquote cap flexibility and all that sort of thing. This is what football doesn't really have because they're not guaranteed contracts as such.
And that's why every single guy that's on this list from football are quarterbacks, because the worst contracts are the ones that do have the guaranteed money where guys flop.
And there is guaranteed money, but the contracts themselves are not guaranteed the way they are in baseball.
But also, it's so rare that anybody gets a fat guaranteed contract that's not a quarterback.
That's right. But it isn't uncommon. But what is great, I understand sort of the idea of, one in the hand is worth two in the bush, and if you can just start going ahead and investing your total sum, like the Ichiro thing, $25 million in 2032 is a significantly lower amount of money than it was in 2015. Because of inflation and all of that. So I get why you want to have your money up front. That said, I am of the persuasion, if you can sort it out and maybe get some interest on it as well and increase your payments as well, where you just know, hey, you know what? If I just get past June 30th, if I can just stretch it out to June 30th, I know on the 1st of July I got another 1.2 in there. Let's keep it rolling. Bobby Bonilla will receive his last payment, Coulter, I believe is right, when he's 72.
I mean, we referenced the 30 for 30 broke on here a lot, and I don't mean to be insensitive in making light of people's financial failures, but also it is one of the most eye-opening and darkly hilarious pieces of film you will ever watch. Some of the things that these guys buy.
Leather suits.
I mean, Evander Holyfield had 3 bowling alleys in his house. Why? It's amazing to have one, but you need one on the other side of the house. I mean, it's so sad, though, when he's walking around his house after all his kids. I mean, because he had like 8 kids, and they all have grown up, and now he's walking around this $35 million mansion in Georgia. I mean, the thing has 60 bedrooms in it. He's just all by himself. Like, there's no way you can even go in every room in your house in a given day. It's ridiculous. But I've always found some sort of I think that sometimes it is a little bit funny to talk about. So let's get into some of these horrific contracts, and then you can tell me which ones you think are really bad. The ones that first pop to mind. Once upon a time, people forget this because Russell Wilson has become such a phenomenal player, but the Seattle Seahawks signed Matt Flynn after he was a backup to be their starter. And it wasn't a crazy amount. I mean, 3 years, $24 million, but Matt Flynn never did anything in the NFL really after that.
Never played. He I believe this is right, that he holds, ironically, the Green Bay Packers record for most touchdown passes in a game. It was his last game as a Packer. I believe it was week 17.
Threw like 6 touchdowns, right?
6 touchdowns he threw on the last game of the season, and then he was a backup and was only playing because the Packers were already in there resting Aaron Rodgers. So then, but on the strength of effectively that, I mean, he played a little bit, with some backup-esque success. But when he went to Seattle, you went, oh my goodness, like this is going to be the worst. They're going to be bad with him there, and he obviously did not beat out Russell Wilson. No one knew at the time what Russell Wilson was going to be, or become. But yeah, to get $24 million and literally not play.
Right.
Well, okay.
And I think there's 3 different ways to tier really bad pro sports contracts. There's guys that straight up couldn't handle the pressure, couldn't live up to the hype. There's guys that just got straight up misevaluated, like Matt Flynn. He was never that good. I mean,
I put NG next to him. Never good.
He's never good.
Never good.
He was never good. That's not on him. Take the money and run, buddy. Throw 6 touchdowns in one game. Take the money and run.
Absolutely.
And then there's guys that sign big contracts and then they just get hurt, and that's the one that kills me. And that's the next guy I had listed is Allen Houston. I was thinking about this the other night. When I was a kid, I loved the Utah Jazz. That was my old man's team. That's who we loved to watch. But then I was always rooting against the Bulls. In retrospect, that's so funny because I love greatness and I love Michael Jordan and I love the Bulls. But when I was a kid, I just wanted
they were the
evil empire.
The hurdle you couldn't get over.
Yeah. And so I always liked the Pacers because I thought the Davis brothers were awesome. But I really, really loved the New York Knicks. I loved all of them. Oakley, Anthony Mason, Patrick Ewing. But then when Ewing retired, that little Knicks team in the late 90s was actually a really fun, cool team when they still had Mark Jackson running the show, and they had Allen Houston, Larry Johnson, Latrell Sprewell, And they still had some of those enforcer bad boy guys. But I loved Allen Houston, man. His game was so smooth.
Allen Houston was a great player.
Great player.
Yes.
But Allen Houston, and this is one of those ones that's just such a tragic story, right? I mean, he leads the Knicks to the NBA Finals in the lockout shortened season in 98-99. They lose to the Spurs. The next 2 years, he has his best 2 years of his career. All-star back-to-back years. He averaged 20.4 points and 22.5 points per game. And then he signs a 6-year, $100 million contract, which was one of the eye-opening
original $100 million deals, yeah.
And then he blew out his knee, and he was literally out of he played 70 more games his entire career. And so, I mean, you can't blame the Knicks for that because he was an awesome guy to invest in. He was a great player and a marketable guy, a guy that had all of his stuff together, and so the injury just killed him. The next couple, though, these guys are ones that are just outrageous. Gilbert Arenas went from second-round draft pick to flirting for the NBA scoring championship 3 years in a row. He's averaged like 28, 29 points per game. He's lighting it up. I mean, if it wasn't for Tracy McGrady, Gilbert Arenas probably would have won 3 straight scoring titles. I mean, he was right there with Allen Iverson and Tracy McGrady as the most prolific scorers in the league. Adidas hitched their wagon to him. When Kobe Bryant got in all the trouble in Colorado, Adidas said, okay, bye-bye, Kobe. We're going straight all in on Gilbert Arenas. That was the dude they were going to – it was Gilbert Arenas and then Dwight Howard. And then in one of the weirdest stories we've ever seen, Gilbert Arenas and Javaris Crittenton get into this long-term card game that they're playing on the bus, they're playing on the plane, and then all of a sudden there's just an explosion in the locker room because these guys can't figure out who owes who money. And Gilbert Arenas has a gun in his locker, and he pulls it on Javaris Crittenton. And it was just all downhill from there. I mean, you talk about karma. I mean, it all went bad for Gilbert Arenas after that. I mean, he never got over the scandal of that. He got his endorsement dropped, and then he blew out his knee. And now somehow, some way, he's still hanging on, toiling in China. But his 5-year, $111 million contract is perhaps the greatest albatross contract that's ever been signed in the NBA.
Yeah, it's tough when it goes that way, when you lose your guy to a card game, among other things. It's not good. One on here that is an absolute, no-brainer, but Jamarcus Russell, before there was the rookie contracts, he's
the one that basically broke the bank, right? Him and Sam Bradford.
Sam Bradford did, and so did, I'll think of it at some point. In any case, 6 years, $68 million. Matt Stafford, by the way, that's who I'm thinking of. Sam Bradford, Matt Stafford goes pretty well together, in fact. But all those guys, 6 years, $68 million, and as we know, just never. He's another one that I put as never good. That's a little bit of a lie. He was great.
He's very talented,
hugely talented. But if you're not willing or able to work, and not even like at a minimal level, but just flat out like, no, I'm not doing anything, it's not going to go well. And Jamarcus Russell is, he's one of the biggest, he's an all-time bust.
I will say that, and this might sound outrageous, but follow me here. I think Jamarcus Russell changed the NFL more than almost any quarterback that's played in the last 20 to 25 years because of this. I think that the concept of character evaluations and parsing through a guy's mental makeup, how do you handle adversity? How do you react to hard situations? What sort of composure do you have? Where are you from? Who do you hang out with? What's your friends like? What's your family like? That stuff gets a little bit overblown because it's under such a huge microscope now, but for whatever reason, even just 10 or 15 years ago, it wasn't under as big of a microscope. And now following Jamarcus Russell, I mean, he had number 1 overall pick talent. I mean, there's the story of him throwing the ball through the goalpost from the 50-yard line from his knees. He could throw it end zone line to end zone line, 100 yards in the air. Huge, but he also had very limited college experience. I believe he was only a starter for a season and maybe a season and a half at LSU. He got by because he had such a whip, but he never really was able to read defenses or absorb, pick up offensive schemes. And I think teams realize now you want the guy that gets the 45 on the Wonderlic test more than the guy who can throw the ball 100 yards because arm strength is way down the list in terms of what it takes to be an effective NFL quarterback. But also, I mean, if you follow Jamarcus Russell's personal life, when he got paid like that, I mean, he's from, a low-income area. He has a bunch of buddies that were all hanging on. But like the stories of him, at the barbershop and the way that he was exploited and the way he let himself get exploited, the way he wanted to be exploited, what he was spending his money on. It's sad, man. It's a tragic tale, honestly, because the kid, he was put on this pedestal. He was not able to live up to the hype, and then it all just eroded from underneath him. And then, he had all his substance abuse problems. It got to the point where he was like addicted to codeine cough syrup. I mean, what a strange tale. But I think that he changed the league so much, though, because I think that made everybody else in the league not want to repeat that mistake. Yeah. And, so then that comes down to the next guy, right? Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler is the absolute definition of having the strongest arm in the league means nothing.
Yeah, well, that is for sure. I mean,
Jay Cutler has a prodigious arm, like one of the greatest arms that we've ever seen.
No question.
And he never cared for 1 second.
That's it. I mean, it's not even about the Wonderlic test. It's about what is your level of interest and the quote unquote love of the game. Like,
I mean, talk about a testament to your talent, though, right? I mean, to be as apathetic of a person as Jay Cutler is, and people could say he underachieved. I would argue he underachieved, but also overachieved. He never cared for a second, was still a starter in the league for more than a decade and got paid 7 years, $126 million. He's still getting paid today.
Josh Hamilton, 5 years, $125 million, was on the top of the world with the Rangers for about 2.5 years.
Man.
And
what a wild story, right?
Wild. And it's ongoing, sadly ongoing.
I mean, number 1 overall pick. Mm-hmm. Can't escape the demons. Does escape the demons, becomes the best player in baseball for a minute.
Yeah.
And then the pressure can't handle it and goes back to his vices, and it continues to roll. A couple other guys I had listed on here, Albert Hainsworth, which the next two guys to me are the two biggest pure and utter busts. Albert Hainsworth, he got paid and he never played again. He never played hard again. He just got fat and happy. That's basically exactly what Albert Hainsworth did. And then Nicholas Batum. I think Nicholas Batum with the Bobcats, I think, is the definition of a misevaluation. The guy was never an all-star, not for 1 second, and he got paid 5 years, $125 million. And he's been just fine, but that's what he was just fine. And when you pay a guy like that, they have to be an all-star, and he never was going to be that.
Nicholas Batum, when he was in Portland, had a season or even a half a season where he played at a very high level. And I think obviously what teams want to do is they want to find a guy who's on his way up, right? Where they think that the ceiling of a particular player or is very high, and that you've seen enough to know that he can do it, but also have expectations that there's a lot more potential to be met.
And he was also on the forefront of the 3-and-D guy, right? Where, Bruce Bowen kind of created that. Yeah. Nicholas Batum, he's this 6'8", super smooth guy who could play facing the basket, and he can shoot the corner three. He's a great defender.
But ultimately, what you saw was a high water mark that was achieved for some reason, whether it was the group that he was playing with, whether it was the system that he was in, maybe something was just working for him, but was never... Like, there was never more to be known about Nicholas Batum. Like, he got to the top level that he was going to be at for a short period of time, and then went back to being, from an NBA perspective, just okay, and then, and then out.
And
just irrelevant. Yeah.
I mean, imagine if he would have stayed in Portland. Imagine if they could have kept LaMarcus Aldridge as well. Imagine that core. Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum, LaMarcus Aldridge, Nicholas Batum. That's a championship contender.
Yeah. I mean... You give me that, I prefer what they got right now.
Yeah, the thing about if you have Batum, Aldridge aside, because I agree, actually. I really like their high motor front court. I think those guys fit Lillard and McCollum perfectly.
They do.
Lillard and McCollum, neither one of them are very good defenders. If you have Batum, then you have a guy that can lock guys down on the perimeter.
Yeah, they do need help defense. It's not even that they're not good defenders. They're just overmatched, right? I mean,
exactly.
They're good defenders for what they are, but... It's tough when you're 6'1".
Last one I want to talk about. This one was actually what gave me the segment idea. Darren Williams, he had his contract delayed after he retired as well, and he got paid his last installment of $5.3 million yesterday.
Okay.
How about that one time when the Knicks, Mikhail Prokhorov, bought the Nets, bought the Nets, and then says, luxury tax be damned, I am going to pay Kevin Garnett, $150 million. Darren Williams, $100 million. Joe Johnson, $100 million. All that to win 35 games, and then I have all three of them basically say, this is toxic, I'm out, and just straight walk away from the game. Tell me this, can you think of anybody, can you think of anybody that fell from grace as hard as Darren Williams?
Man.
Without injuries or personal issues, right? I mean, there's been guys like Derrick Rose. I mean, he was MVP to then, a largely irrelevant role player because of injuries, right? There's been guys like Josh Hamilton who struggle with addiction, Josh Gordon. But I mean, Darren Williams was straight up 20 and 10. It was coming out of the 2008 Olympics. It was a real conversation. Who's better, Darren Williams or Chris Paul?
The thing that I will remember about Darren Williams is he straight retired, and not happily, I might add, Jerry Sloan. I mean, he was in Utah. Jerry Sloan, who was the longest tenured coach in the NBA, more than Pop, more than Phil, more than all of them, been there this whole time, and like mid-season just goes, well, I'm good. And it was evidently tied directly to his relationship or lack thereof with Darren Williams, and I don't know all the behind the scenes, but to have a guy like that who's has the respect and the credentials and the history of Jerry Sloan just walk away and never come back. He walked out the door, and that was it. Jerry Sloan, retired, done with basketball.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Jerry Sloan. I mean, my goodness, that's unbelievable. I am not familiar with another situation like that ever.
There's a lot of different sort of monikers for statistical accomplishments that get thrown around the NBA that are maybe a little bit overused. One of the biggest, most overused one is that guy's a 20 and 10 point guard. In reality, I believe that Magic Johnson, Tiny Archibald, Isaiah Thomas, Chris Paul, and Darren Williams are the only 5 point guards in NBA history to average 20 points and 10 assists in the same season multiple years in a row. Think of that company that Darren Williams is in.
It's crazy.
He's in the same conversation as Chris Paul and Isaiah Thomas.
And the thing that's crazy is when he was doing this in Utah with Jerry Sloan, he was great. He was an unbelievable player.
Unbelievable.
And so for that to happen, while he's dominating on the court, to have to push a Hall of Fame coach right out the door who is beloved. I mean, who's more synonymous with the Utah Jazz than Jerry Sloan? I mean, Malone Stockton probably, but that's about it.
That's it.
I mean, that is bizarre. And I don't know the specifics of that still. I mean, that feels like a 30 for 30 all day right there to me. I mean, I don't know what in the world's going on.
I mean, I think it's the greatest example of he signed his contract and just was unmotivated from that moment on.
It's Tootell and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. It's time to hook you people up. The day that Bobby Bonilla gets $1.2 million, we're going to give you 12, that's a dozen, wings from the Desperado Sports Tavern. The greatest wings in the city of Missoula. Give us a call right now, 361-3688, 361-3688. You call us up. We will give you some trivia questions. You answer those trivia questions. You're going to go get your hands dipped in sauce, and it's going to be a very lovely experience for all involved. Okay, we'll do that right after this, 361-3688 right now.
Here's some exciting news. Farmers State Bank is offering the Summer Better Sweepstakes for a chance to win $5,000. Download our mobile money app and use Zelle to send money. During June and July, each time you send $5 or more with Zelle, you receive a sweepstakes entry. For rules and details, visit farmersebank.com. Farmers State Bank, member FDIC. No purchase necessary. Zelle is available to U.S. bank account holders only. Terms and conditions apply. Zelle is a property of Early Warning Services, LLC.
After a long couple of months, it's finally feeling like we're getting back to business as usual. But it's not the usual at all. At Missoula's Wingate, we are, as always, committed to giving you a relaxing stay at a great value. But we're also balancing the new guidelines like maximum pool occupancies and increased disinfecting to protect your health with a never-ending pledge to make you feel at home when you're not. If you find yourself on the road in the Missoula area, please consider staying with us at Missoula's Wingate.
Wayne McElmurray knows what you can achieve through hard work as an athlete from a small town in Montana. The Troy native rose up to become an All-American safety for the Grizzlies on UM's 95 National Championship team before spending time playing in the NFL. McElmurray has also used those values in his work at McElmurray Homes. Since 2003, McElmurray Homes has helped contract and subcontract some of the Garden City's finest houses. McElmurray Homes is committed to offering quality custom service, quality products, and the best prices throughout any project. And McElmurray Homes is also a proud supporter of high school athletes around the state of Montana.
Summer is here, so get out of the house and play some golf at the picturesque Canyon River Golf Club. Canyon River boasts a pristine 18-hole championship golf course sitting along the Clark Fork River in the beautiful mountain valley of East Missoula. The course is meticulously manicured and in perfect shape to give you the challenge and fun you're looking for. Visit CanyonRiverGolfClub.com to book your tee time online and save big all season. You've been cooped up, so get out and play at Canyon River Golf Club.
You can help move Missoula and your career forward. Join the Mountain Line team and make a difference in our community while building a long-term stable career as a bus operator. We are seeking service-oriented and safety-focused individuals to come on board. We offer competitive pay, full benefits, and a paid training program. Learn transit from the ground up. Become part of Mountain Line's extended family and gain a rewarding career out of serving Missoula. Apply today. Visit mountainline.com/careers or call 721-3333.
The Star-Spangled 4th of July sale is on now at Bob Ward's. Celebrate Independence Day with great deals on sports and outdoors gear throughout the store. Bob Ward's is your summer fun headquarters. Check out the savings on tubes, stand-up paddleboards, kayaks and rafts, summer footwear, backpacks and camping gear, fishing, apparel, and accessories for 4th of July fun. Before you hit the road, trail, or lake this summer, gear up at Bob Ward's. Wishing you a safe and festive holiday. Bob Ward's, gear for adventures since 1917.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, Ryan Tootell, Colton Nuanez. Here's some sports news for you. Minor League Baseball is officially over before it began. The MILB announced Tuesday that the 2020 season has been canceled from coast to coast. The minor league campaign had previously been on hold nationwide due to the coronavirus. Major League Baseball has now informed MILB that it would not provide any players to fill the rosters for the remainder of the year. The Rookie Advanced Pioneer League, which includes Billings, Great Falls, and Missoula, was scheduled to begin its season on June 19th, which will mark the first time since World War II that will not be playing baseball.
On Tuesday afternoon, the Darby School Board sent out an alert that they would revise their decision over maligned head football coach Jeff Snavely. The school board then announced that Snavely will be suspended for the entire season, whether that comes this fall or later on, depending on how things go with the pandemic. The decision is a revision to the previous decision to retain Snavely after the longtime Darby coach made a social media post on May 31st that allegedly suggested Black Lives Matter protesters in Salt Lake City should be hanged.
And finally, two former Montana State women's basketball standouts have signed professional contracts to play in Europe this fall. Fallon Friggi, the 2019-2020 Big Sky MVP, and Claire Lundberg, the 2018-19 Big Sky Newcomer of the Year, signed to play in the Swedish professional league.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is brought to you by Aspen Sound.
3 nights at the motel under street lights in the city of palms. Call me what you want when you want if you want, and you can call me names if you call me up. 3 nights at the motel under street lights in the city of palms. Call me what you want when you want if you want, and you can call me names if you call me up. Feel like the least of all your problems.
Welcome back to Tootell and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, all over your Twitter sphere, at Gus Tootell, at 102.9 ESPN, at Skyline Sports MT, all of these things available so you can follow us all around the world. That's where we go. Let's do a little Wing It Wednesday, shall we? We bring in our friend Mike to the show. Mike, how you doing out there, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you guys doing?
Doing well, Mike. We appreciate you giving us a shout here. Where are you at? Are you got big plans for the weekend? It's the 4th of July, you know?
I'm out in Bonner right now, gearing up to head over to Cook City and Red Lodge for the weekend.
Okay.
And maybe round up a little time in Billings.
Man, that's the way to do it right there. Get out, see the whole state, you know what I mean? Well, at least, a good portion of the state, what you can do in a couple of days. So excellent work by you there. You are east of Missoula, heading east. That is a beautiful way to go. We're excited for you. Let us know how Cook City is. I hear there's a couple of good places to eat around Cook City. That's what I've heard. Mike,
I heard.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I heard Cook City was a great time, and July is about, one of the only months you can get up there.
Exactly, right. If you don't have a snowmobile, right, you got to go in there hiking somehow at Cook City. If you're in the winter, if you're not paying attention, you're going to be in bad shape. I wonder how many people think they're going to visit a place that aren't from, the north, as it were, and they're like, well, what do you mean the highway is closed? Today? No. Since October and until May, the highway is closed.
Until Memorial.
Exactly. That's what it is. That's what you got to do. All right, here's the deal. Mike, we got 3 questions for you. If you answer 2 of them, you got yourself a basket of wings to the Desperado Sports Tavern. If you get all 3, you're going to get yourself a shirt to go along with it. If you need any help on these, Coulter is your lifeline. Does that sound all right?
That sounds great.
Boy, some chicken wings would really hit the spot. Tummy likey. Tummy want wingy.
Okay, this is covering a wide variety of things, Mike. Okay, so here we go. We had a slight revision right at the end of the show yesterday. I was using the word buffalo. I was told by a listener that no, it is bison. The North American species, which is often referred to casually as buffalo, is in fact technically bison. Can you tell me, though, the difference between a buffalo and a bison? And I will tell you that as a matter of, technical fact, there is no such thing as a buffalo in North America.
Isn't a bison a cross between what was the American buffalo and cattle?
So I think the bison is just the American buffalo, but there are buffaloes that are not American bison that are elsewhere in the world. You know what I'm referring to here?
Like water buffaloes?
Boom.
Wildebeests.
Water buffaloes, which evidently there's water buffaloes in South Asia and then in Southern Africa, though they, I think, are casually referred to as water buffalo, are Cape buffalo. Notably, the particular difference, as it was told to me, the bison are the hipsters of the group with the big beards. The water buffalo and such have no facial hair of the sort to go along with the American bison. So excellent work. Water buffalo it is. Here we go. Next question. Question number 2. Mike, as of 2016, how many, and this is multiple choice, okay, multiple choice. How many cities on Earth had a population of more than 1 million people? Okay, A, 219 cities, B, 385 cities, or C, 512 cities?
Oh, man. Let's call on a lifeline on that, Coulter. You got any idea?
Well, I'm going to say it's not A, because I remember reading an article when the Olympics were going to be in China, and there was, I believe the statistic was there was more than 100 cities in China with more than 100 or with more than 1 million people. So I think that A is off the table. Now it's between B and C.
385 or 512?
See, 385 sounds pretty good. 512 sounds like too many. I believe in America there's something like 15 or 16 with actual city populations of more than 1 million, and around 30 cities with metropolitan areas of more than 1 million. So are you going for actual in the city population, Gus, or metropolitan area? Because like a city like Portland, Oregon, for example, does not have a city population of 1 million, but certainly has a metro population of a couple million.
Here's what I'm going to say. It's a difficult thing to ask because when we put it at a global scale, the idea of city limits and metropolitan area is not universal. So I would say that what is generally accepted as the city on a looser translation than the geographical boundary as it may be in a particular place.
So I think we should go with the big one because I believe that there's what's this? How many countries are there on Earth? Gus, 317?
No, 197.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, still, so let's say that there was. We know that there's close to, or if not more than 100 million person cities in China, and we know that there's 30 something in America, and then there's places like India that have huge population centers, Russia.
Right.
So I think that
Philippines, Singapore.
I think the big one, I think the 500 something is the one I would go with.
Mike, you guys have done a lot of talking on this. What do you think? What do you want to go with here?
Let's go with the big guy then. Let's see the 500 something.
You talked it out, and you talked it out well. 512 cities of a million or more on Earth. By the way, just as a free addition to that, 31 megacities. Megacities defined as 10 million or better. 31 megacities on Earth.
That's gross.
6 of those are in China. 5 of them are in India. So 11 of the 31 between those two countries. New York is the only one in the top 20 at 18 million.
We got about 1 million people in the greater Montana metropolitan area.
Yeah, that's right. Wide open spaces, baby. So this is what I'm talking about. I get so much anxiety thinking about that. Like I can't handle Spokane, and Spokane has like 250,000 people. So if you put me in, what city has the largest population on Earth?
Tokyo right now, 38.7 million people in Tokyo.
I would spontaneously combust.
They won't even know the Olympics aren't there. Right? It's just like it's happening all the time in Tokyo. Okay, so congratulations, Mike. You got your wings when you come back from your Cook City Billings run. You come in here, we'll get you set up with the wings to the Desperado. Last question, you're on your own on this one. We did cover this, though, in the show, so if you've been listening on the road, whatever. In 2000, the Mets agreed to buy out the remaining contract of what player who finished in 2000 and is going to be paid $1.2 million every July 1st till 2035?
This is one of my favorite stories in the game. Bobby Bonilla is collecting that money until 2035.
Bobby Bonilla, and just for the kids at home, it's not tortilla, it's tortilla. That's how you do the double L. Absolutely right. 3 for 3. Mike, congratulations. Enjoy your trip. Drive safely, and give your information to Reese in the back. We'll send you out all of your winnings, a shirt and a doggone set of wings over there to the Desperado, okay?
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Hey, have a happy 4th.
You too. I mean, that's a good way to get your 4th of July started. He's already on his way on Wednesday. You know what I mean? Getting a little early start on this thing, which is good. Mike wins some wings. We'll do another round, by the way, of Wing It Wednesday to the Desperado in the next hour.
Speaking of Bobby Bonilla and the New York Mets, I'm drinking out of this Beatles cup, which I'm certain must belong to the one and only Tommy Evans.
The great and mighty Tommy, yes.
But the All-Star show that it has on there, if you can see it on the TV there, live from Shea Stadium.
Shea? Okay. Old Shea Stadium, man. Rock and roll in that place.
Also, did you see the Cooper Kupp pictures from today?
I have not.
Cooper Kupp, former Eastern Washington Eagle.
Yes.
Probably the player that torched Montana more than any player. Well, I mean, let's be real. Cooper Kupp torched everybody.
I was just going to say, the player that torched the team he played more than any other player that played that team. That's how you know it was Cooper Kupp.
This is actually an awesome stat. I covered Cooper Kupp live. The first time I ever saw him, I knew that he was transcendent. I knew that he was spectacular and special. And so I wrote a long feature on him when he was a freshman because I had been close with Junior Adams, former Montana State Bobcat, who was the Eastern wide receivers coach at the time. And so Eastern Washington obviously played Montana State every year during that time. But also they were the team going always in the playoffs, and the Cats and the Grizz have been in and out of the playoffs during his career. Mm-hmm. So I went to Cheney and covered him. So I covered Kupp live 13 times in his career. Mm. He never had less than 10 catches, never had less than 180 yards, and never caught less than 2 touchdowns when I saw him. The best ticket money could buy.
That's pretty good.
I mean, unbelievable, dude. I mean, and I got to watch him. I mean, I watched him against Northern Colorado, 20 for 285 and 3. I mean, get out of here. That's like the Bobcats' whole season last year. Anyways, today Cooper Kupp tweeted a picture of him and Paul George working out.
Okay.
And it says, if that whole basketball career doesn't work out, you can try football. Just hit me up. I got your back.
Down in Los Angeles doing a thing. By the way, you know what I did see on the Twitter
What's
today?
that?
So, they're building that SoFi Stadium, which is a city unto itself in Los Angeles where the Rams and the Chargers are going to play. They hoisted into place the video board for that, the digital video board.
Wow.
Would you like to take a shot at the size of that thing?
Is it bigger than Jerry World?
Oh, significant.
No way.
Yes.
Yikes.
70,000 square feet.
70,000 square feet.
That's a TV, folks, right there. So it's like what they got going in the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta, because it's a round. It's actually an oval. So you can't get bigger than Jerry World, but they didn't think outside the box. They just put up screens, like flat screens that you look at. This, as it is in Atlanta as well, is it's a circle or an oval, and this thing is basically a loop around the entire football field, hoisted up to the rafters. It is gigantic. I think, what did they say, like 1.2 million pounds? Maybe was it 1.2 million tons? I don't know. It's got to be more than 1.2 million pounds. That's not actually even that much, I suppose. A huge amount. Anyway, there you go. It's Tootell Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Boys and girls, Kurtz Polaris is at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy. The weather is warm. It's 4th of July weekend. Time to get your dirt biking, off-roading, and on-legging activities to a maximum with Kurtz Polaris. Beta and Husqvarna dirt bikes, tops in the industry, brand new. They're brand new for the season, 2021s, at Kurtz Polaris. They also have all the great Polaris side-by-sides, as always, including the hard-working Ranger, the Fun Fast Razor. Maybe if you really want to load up, go big with it, get the General going, and you got to get on the lake, man. There's nothing better than being in a boat on the lake, and especially a pontoon boat. You could do the leisure thing. You can do the ski thing. Whatever you want to do, the pontoon boats do it all now. Crest Pontoon Boats, they are at Kurtz Polaris. Summer, the way you always envisioned with Kurtz, online at kurtzpolaris.com.
Hello, Montanans. Times have been uncertain, but we here at the Montana Club have relished seeing how our communities have pulled together. We've been grateful to serve you delivery and takeout, which we will continue to do, and we are excited to announce that our dining room is open again. Thank you for supporting us during this time. We can't wait to see you and serve you all of your Montana Club favorites. As always, we are here for you. We are Montana. Welcome back to the club, the Montana Club, on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
We've missed short drives to see friends, long drives to see family. We've missed road trips, car camping, heck, we've even missed commuting. We're grateful to be getting back on the road, and Les Schwab wants to help you drive safe, just like we always have. To help get you rolling again safely, we're happy to offer up to $110 off a set of 4 select tires. Les Schwab Tires. Doing the right thing matters. Limited time offer while supplies last. Actual discount amount depends on tire size and type. Cannot be combined with other offers. Details at leschwab.com.
Here at Florence Coffee, our Huckleberry Lemonade is a favorite in our lineup of refreshing summer drinks.
For a fun twist on my favorite drink, you can get it made with our house-brewed iced tea for a treat that is sure to beat the summer heat.
For your Huck Lemonade, stop by any Florence Coffee location throughout western Montana or visit us at florencecoffeeco.com.
The best flavor under the big sky, Florence Coffee Company.
The world of real estate is always evolving. That's more true now than ever. If you are a longtime Missoulian that is looking to upgrade or downsize, it might be the best time yet to sell. If you're in the position to buy something new, today might be the best time to buy. And no matter what questions you have when it comes to residential or commercial real estate, Mike Nugent and the professionals at Berkshire Hathaway in Missoula have your answers. To find out what Mike can do for you, give him a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
Mazda is making it worth your while to buy new and to buy now at Flanagan Motors Mazda. Through the close of business Monday, July 6th, buy any new in-stock 2020 Mazda CX-30, Mazda CX-5, or Mazda CX-9 at Flanagan Motors Mazda and receive the following with your good credit. No money down and zero interest for up to 63 months, plus your first payment won't be due for 3 months. In addition, everybody gets a rebate on a new Mazda of up to $2,500. We are open the 1st through the 3rd and closed Saturday the 4th and Sunday the 5th, then open Monday the 6th for the final day of Mazda's Independence Day sale. If you've already made plans for the holiday weekend, no problem. Shop online at FlanaganMotors.com. Use our online shopper tool to help you value your trade, estimate payments, and apply for financing. Call 721-1381 or stop by Flanagan Motors Mazda in Midtown Missoula. Stay safe, Missoula. Manage your exposure and celebrate responsibly.
A-N-A-G-A-N Motors. Tootell and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
Welcome back to Tootell and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. SWX Montana Television. Thanks for being here with us. We appreciate it. It's good to be with all of you. Colton, we just have a couple minutes left here in this hour, but wanted to touch on a story, which is a very sad story, but one that is certainly noteworthy in the state of Montana. But Dane Frazier, outstanding basketball player out of St. Labret, passed away at a very young age, the victim of a stabbing was it 3 days ago that this
just over
took
the
place?
weekend,
And anybody who knew who Dane Frazier was as a player says, my goodness, if you watched this kid play basketball, you had seen something else.
Yeah, the legend of Native American basketball players in Montana it's such a striking one, but also such a hard one to deal with and a hard one to compartmentalize sometimes. The article that the greatest sports article ever written, in my opinion, is called "Shadows of a Nation." It's by Gary Smith. Excuse me, and it appeared in the iconic 1991 Sports Illustrated that had the Dream Team on the cover. Patrick Ewing, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and Michael Jordan. The famous photo that said, "We're going to take on the world." But it's a long-form feature all about Native American players on the reservation and the way that Native American culture and the art of becoming a man had gravitated away from counting coup or stealing the rival tribe's horse to performing in the sports arena, specifically on the basketball court. And the story chronicles many of the great players that have come through Montana, guys like Elvis Old Bull and Larry Pretty Weasel. And the main character in the story is Jonathan Take's Enemy. And I think Jonathan Take's Enemy is the best parallel to Dane Frazier. But guys that rise up and represent their people are oftentimes deified and made into heroes. And so often they have such a hard time making it beyond the place that they come from, but that doesn't demean the accomplishments. And in the eastern part of the state, we don't get as much exposure to it here, but in the eastern part of the state in Montana, invitational basketball tournaments and Indian basketball tournaments featuring guys from all over that whole portion of the state are such a big deal. They're huge community events, and we've seen blacktop legends, guys like J.R. Campbell from this neck of the woods, but so many other guys that have been such awesome players. But I think that the guy who was the torchbearer in that realm for young people, from young Native people, is Dane Frazier. And he was 34 years old when he passed away. He's only a grade older than I was. But Dane, when he broke out at St. Labret, I believe he's the last Montana player to average 35-plus points per game in a season. He averaged 35 a game for 2 years in a row. He went on to play at Bismarck Junior College. He's a two-time All-American. His last year at Bismarck, he averaged 27.6 points per game. If you ever watched him play, and I only got a chance to see Dane play a couple times, but it was must-see, especially when you're talking about non-structure of college basketball, but rather just in open-run settings in tournaments like the Estes Tournament or Dogfest.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd pay more money to watch that than any Big Sky Conference game. I mean, it was guaranteed the dude's going to get 40, and he might get 60. So a really tragic deal, and I think that will have ramifications all around the state, but specifically on the eastern part of the state, because I first came across this from Carlos Taylor, former All-Big Sky point guard for Montana State. He was the first one that said, man, I just got the news about Dane Frazier. But I started going through Twitter. I mean, every dude of any sort of basketball prestige, whether they played for the Cats or the Grizz or in the Frontier Conference or have played in these tournaments around the state, every single one was like, man, I can't believe that Dane is gone. He's a legend, man. And that, sometimes it's not the dudes who get All-American that are the ones that are the most revered, the ones, in the basketball community. Dudes who are straight up first-team All-Big Sky players were like, man, that is the dude that I wanted to watch. That was the dude that I wanted to play against. So it's a terrible story that he passed away so young, but worth remembering, because I think that we've seen these legendary guys that are they're the things that their people tell stories about. And Dane Frazier was the last one that I can remember. Famous Left Hand is kind of carrying the torch now, and I really hope that Famous Left Hand can go and have a productive college career, because so often these guys, they flame out too soon when it comes to the traditional sense of it. But you can't say that it was a flame out when you're like Dane Frazier was, because he continued winning and performing for his people all the time. And so sad news, but definitely certainly worth remembering a guy like Dane Fisher, because he was absolutely an outstanding player and a guy that will be remembered around the state.
Well, our thoughts are certainly with Dane Frazier's family and the community of St. Labray from where he came, and we think of him and reflect on him here this afternoon. It's Tootell Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. We take a break. On the other side, hour number 2, Travis DeCure, the head coach of the University of Montana men's basketball team. Our conversation with him coming right up. You do not want to miss this one next.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula.
Hey there, Colter Nuanez from Tootell Nuanez. I'm here with Tom from Aspen Sound. And Tom, it's almost boat season. Tell people, how do they get their boat all ready to roll with you guys for the summer?
Colter, I appreciate it, my man. We're in full swing now. Boats are starting to rock out, and we're seeing a lot of ATVs come through. Window tinting is going full force, so make sure you get in while we still have some slots open.
Aspen Sound, located at 1300 West Broadway in Missoula.
Feel the music at Aspen Sound.
Summer is here, so get out of the house and play some golf at the picturesque Canyon River Golf Club. Canyon River boasts a pristine 18-hole championship golf course sitting along the Clark Fork River in the beautiful mountain valley of East Missoula. The course is meticulously manicured and in perfect shape to give you the challenge and fun you're looking for. Visit CanyonRiverGolfClub.com to book your tee time online and save big all season. You've been cooped up, so get out and play at Canyon River Golf Club.
Now more than ever, we appreciate the value of relationships. Opportunity Bank has been serving Montanans and building strong relationships since 1922. With banking services for your family and your business, Opportunity Bank is with you as we move through these challenging times. For the latest information about how Opportunity Bank is working with customers and communities during the COVID-19 crisis, visit our website at opportunitybank.com. We are all in this together. Opportunity Bank of Montana, member FDIC.
Listen, I know you know 5 realtors, and I know your brother-in-law's cousin is a realtor, and your mom's best friend's daughter is a realtor. But can those realtors juggle knives? Can those realtors swallow fire? Can those realtors walk across hot coals? Well, neither can Aaron Pignano. But he can give you the best service and take good care of you when you're buying or selling your home. Whether you're a first-time buyer or have done this a few times, call Aaron Pignano at 406-241-0024. That's 406-241-0024. Or check out search406.com.
At Missoula Bone & Joint, we call it walk-in urgent care, but really, you may limp in, roll in, hobble in, or be carried in. What we're really saying is that you don't need an appointment when you have an urgent orthopedic injury or condition. Save yourself time and money and come directly to the specialist. Missoula Bone & Joint's walk-in orthopedic urgent care on Mullen Road now has its own entrance. Look for the blue awning just past the main entrance. Missoula Bone & Joint, quality care from people who care.
Hey, David here with Garden City Plumbing and Heating.
Did you know that, according to the EPA, the concentrations of some pollutants are often 2 to 5 times higher indoors than they are outdoors? With you and your family spending more time in your home, you should not have to second-guess the indoor air you breathe. You deserve to be comfortable and to trust it. If you have any questions about indoor air quality, or if you would like to schedule a free indoor air quality consultation, call us today at 728-5550.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Hey, how you doing? Tootell and Nuanez. Here's some sports news for you. Minor League Baseball is officially canceled. The MILB announced yesterday that the 2020 season has been canceled from coast to coast. The minor league campaign had previously been on hold nationwide due to the coronavirus. Major League Baseball has informed MILB affiliates that it will not provide players to fill their rosters for the remainder of the year. The Rookie Advanced Pioneer League, which includes Billings, Great Falls, and Missoula, was scheduled to open its season June 19th. This will mark the first time in the league, which has been in existence since 1939, the first time they won't play since World War II.
On Tuesday afternoon, Darby School Board sent out an alert that they would revise the decision over embattled head football coach Jeff Snavely. School Board then announced that Snavely will be suspended for an entire season, whether that comes this fall or later on, depending on what happens with the pandemic. The decision is a revision to a previous decision that retained Snavely after the longtime Darby coach made a controversial social media post on May 31st that allegedly suggested Black Lives Matter protesters in Salt Lake City be hanged.
And finally, 2 former Montana State women's basketball standouts have signed professional contracts to play in Europe this fall. Fallon Frigge and Claire Lundberg have signed to play with the Swedish Professional League. This Sports Center is brought to you by Aaron Pignano of Exit Realty in Missoula.
Polaris Studio. Here is Ryan Tootell and Colter Nuanez.
Welcome back.
Happy to welcome
Tootell and Nuanez.
Well, happy to welcome back.
We are happy to welcome back, aren't we? What's that?
Step.
Yeah, dubstep it. There you go. We are happy to welcome all of you back at hour number 2 of the big show, Tootell and Nuanez, here on ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. If you missed anything in the first hour, you can check it out on the podcast. The podcast is available wherever you get your podcast. Tootell and Nuanez podcast available all the time, and it is there thanks to our friends at Blackfoot and also at Alpine Touch. If you would like to call, 361-3688 is the phone number. We will do another Wing It Wednesday for you coming up in about a half an hour from now. So you can go ahead and give us a shout at that time, 361-3688. All guests join us via the Reggich Brothers RV phone line. And if you want to listen live, you can do it on the web, 1029ESPN.com. You listen live all the time. It is there on the stream. The stream is available thanks to Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. Speaking of Opportunity Bank, it is time for our Coach's Corner, which is brought to us each week by Opportunity Bank. And this week, Colter, we got to catch up with one of our favorite guys to talk to, Travis DeCure, the head coach of the University of Montana men's basketball team. He is back in Missoula after having been in Seattle for a little while, which you'll hear about here off the top of this conversation. But always great to catch up with Coach DeCure, and just great perspective, a lot to say, and a lot that needs to be said as well regarding everything from where we're at socially, civically, racially in this country, where we're at from a pandemic standpoint, and he's a big proponent of the mask and getting people to do that. I mean, he's a big push today on social media with him, his coaches, his players wearing the mask and trying to encourage others to do so, if for no other reason than play some basketball, coming up here in the fall. And also, we actually talk some hoops in this thing. How about that? The state of affairs when it comes to his team, his roster, which is, as we've talked about, incredibly talented, but also, very, very new. There's not a clear hierarchy of leadership. There's a lot of youth on this team. So an exciting and yet interesting time for trying to figure out what you got from a basketball group standpoint. So great to talk to Coach DeCure earlier today, and we're happy to bring it to you now.
Yeah, the overlay between what's going on in the world and the sports world is definitely an interesting one to analyze from all elements, including an economic repercussion standpoint, higher education standpoint. But I think that men's basketball, whether you're talking about Division I college or the NBA, is the sector of our society where I think the analysis of the overlay is going to be the most important, because the only place where African Americans are the vast majority is in men's basketball. I believe that close to 80% of the NBA is black, and I believe that I think about 3 out of 4 Division I men's college basketball players are African American as well. And so dealing with the stress and strife of what's going on in the world today, while also trying to manage being, in this case, with the Grizz men's basketball team, a student athlete who has classroom responsibilities as well as athletic responsibilities. I think that a lot of these men have a lot more weight on their shoulders than maybe anybody else in America today, including Travis DeCuire, who he himself then has an enormous weight because he is the leader of young men, but also one of the very few African-American head coaches on the West Coast, period. And so I think that his almost requirement, but also willingness to be a spokesman at this point in time, but also just be such a phenomenal leader like he always has been. Mm-hmm. I think that this is his chance to truly shine and give us great advice. And as we've talked about, all we want to do is listen and learn. And I can't think of anybody better to listen and learn from than Coach DeCuire.
It's our Opportunity Bank Coach's Corner. Montana men's head basketball coach Travis DeCuire.
Well, happy to welcome back to the show the head coach of the University of Montana men's basketball team, Travis DeCuire. And Coach, a couple of things. First of all, welcome back to town. We know that you were out back home in Seattle a little bit and got back, and you were there for very good reason. You welcomed in the first grandbaby of the DeCuire clan into this world. Congratulations on that, man. That had to be, I mean, as exciting a day as you've had in a long time, right?
No question. I appreciate it. You know, children change lives, right? And to start the next generation, obviously, is a whole nother perspective that there's no way you can prepare yourself for it. It's all excitement and you're grateful, you know, and it's fun watching the family grow.
Now, I'm a dad, you're a dad, but I'm a little ways off from being a granddad, presumably. So how different is that moment to see, like you said, that next generation coming along now?
Well, the buildup is huge, and then the moment comes and you never get enough. And, you know, people always talk about, you know, with grandchildren, you can have all the fun with them and then pass them back when you're done. And the reality is, at least in the first 2 months, you don't want to give them back. And so it's all fun. It's exciting.
Right.
This is the fun part when you're not the sole responsibility to their growth and who they become. You play a role, but it's not necessarily your job. And so this is the fun part of life, I think.
Not all of us get to have the patriarchy in a family, right? I know your grandfather has been around and watched you grow into the man you are now, and your dad as well. But how thought-provoking is that, to think that maybe you'll have a chance to be in someone's lives? I mean, my dad passed away when I was only 25 years old. My grandfather when I was only 8, so I didn't get to have that. But I still remember them every day. But from your perspective, do you ever think just how thought-provoking is that, just thinking about the future and the influence you could have on a second generation of your family?
Well, just like you say, my grandfather, I only had one grandfather in my life, and he passed when I was 9. And so I still have memories of the early days, but you never really get that perspective of when you become a teenager and some of that intellect, some of that knowledge that they can share with you. I missed out on that. And so I look forward to having an opportunity to be that guy that gets to have those conversations with my grandson. So we play a major role, right, in a lot of different ways when you talk about hierarchy in terms of our roles with the family. And you know, I think there's a lot of us that grow up with, you know, maybe 1 or 2 grandparents, never 4. And so when you have an opportunity to play that impactful role on a young life, you get excited about it and have fun with it.
to the president and some of the things that I've seen today, even just now on social media, specifically with you and your team and the masks, and tweeting out pictures of selfies with guys wearing masks and saying, hey, we want to have a season. How impactful a role do you think, wearing the masks and that sort of thing in terms of just directly of having a basketball season? Like, that's the point of this whole thing, is so that guys can play, because that's what they want to do. And it seems like, pretty easy thing to do, right, when you go out in public.
One would think, my time in Seattle, there were a lot of people wearing masks. Now, there were groups that weren't, but you go into grocery stores, there were more that were wearing them than not. And I was staying home a lot, so I wasn't out as much, other than a Costco, Home Depot, grocery store, and a lot of masks were being worn there. Obviously, in Costco, they're not going to let you in the door. And then to come back to work, I'll be honest, there weren't very many people wearing masks at work. My staff was, and it's interesting sometimes. I think a lot of people don't wear a mask because maybe they feel awkward to be the minority with the mask on, which is interesting with what's going on in the country right now, that some people become minorities and never been one before. So they just don't wear one. And as we've been in office now 2 weeks, as we start to have our players show up wearing masks, and we're going into other people's offices wearing masks, you start looking up, and there's quite a few more people in the building wearing masks now. Obviously Bryn posted what she posted today, and they've been wearing masks down there. So I think what happens is it becomes contagious. And now I think we're getting close to the point where the people who don't wear masks are now the minority. So I think we're headed in the right direction. To me, though, it's kind of a joke, right? That we want to have a season, and that's why we're going to wear the mask and whatnot. And maybe that grabs the attention of those that are sports fans that aren't wearing them. But the reality is we want to live, and we want to shut this thing down. And that should be why we wear the mask. But obviously that reason isn't enough to get people to wear them. So maybe athletics does it.
From a sports perspective, it's been a pretty tumultuous last several months. But I think that all of us in the sports world, whether it's broadcasting or covering sports or coaching sports or whatever realm we might live in the sports world, we're all planning on, or at least we're optimistic that we will have, and we're operating as if we will have a football season, a basketball season. You can't really do it any other way. But I mean, what sort of specifics have you had to navigate with your team, making sure that they're staying healthy, both mentally and physically, they're taking care of business? So much of basketball is personal accountability. How do you emphasize those sorts of things to your players when you aren't allowed to be around them nearly as much as you normally would?
Well, once we broke, we tried to make sure most of our guys went home, and a couple guys stayed in Missoula, which was safer than maybe where they would have been going. But the reality was we just didn't want guys traveling, and we were hoping that the guys that stuck around didn't look up in April where this thing was at its worst and then decide to fly. And so we just pushed guys to get home and finish up the semester from home. We thought that they'd be a little safer with their families, where they can maybe put a little pressure on each other to stay safe, as opposed to no supervision loose in Missoula. The hard part is you don't know what they're doing. And so common check-ins. You wearing a mask? You social distancing? Yes. You staying home? Yes. And then you start looking on Twitter, and guys are posting pictures where they're with each other, or we do a Zoom call and they're sitting on the couch next to each other. And the answer is no, you're not social distancing. No, you don't have on a mask. So for us, it's just over-communicate these things and continue to remind them. Even now that they're back, on occasion, a guy will walk in our office with no mask on, and they got to go back out and start over. So I think it's constant dialogue, but it's difficult when you're not continuously with each other to have any feel for what's going on or how guys are doing. So we just over-communicate as much as possible and hope for the best.
Travis DeCuire joining us, head coach of the Montana men's basketball team. And Coach, we got a lot of basketball to get to, but I wanted to touch now, because this is the first time we've spoken directly one-on-one since the death of Mr. Floyd and the movement and the protests that have happened throughout the country. I know you spent a lot of time talking about this at a lot of various places and to a lot of various people. Specifically, I'm very excited for the New Angle podcast to come out with Justin Angle here in a couple of weeks. I think July 14th, that's going to be there. And I look greatly forward to encourage everybody to listen to his podcast with Travis DeCuire there. But what responsibility do you think is incumbent upon yourself as a coach and coaches in general across sports to have something to say about this, especially when sports is the most visible integration of races, I think, that we have in this country, probably?
It's like we're walking around with a microphone attached to us. Once you become a head coach, once you put yourself in a leadership position, you constantly have a microphone on you. And you have to use that, in a lot of different ways, right? And we use it for like self-marketing, program marketing, areas of strength for our programs, our universities we represent and whatnot. But also we have to use that microphone to support our student athletes, our peers, our employees, when we have that opportunity. And that's where silence sometimes is a negative. Whether you say something or you don't say something, you're making a statement, right? And I just have always believed the guys that have had the courage to share their opinion on such a fragile topic have a more meaningful impact on others. And those that don't lose opportunities to create a level of respect and trust in those that they're working with. And so, some of us have helped others in these opportunities, and some of us have lost those opportunities to make an impact on others.
Ryan and I have talked a lot about this throughout the last couple of weeks on the show, and so much of our job already has been to listen. And as somebody that grew up in Missoula, Montana, not a particularly diverse place, but being involved in sports has let me get to know people from across the country, no matter what racial background you might have, guys that have become friends of mine, no matter where you're from completely different places, from places like Virginia Beach, Virginia, or, Lakeland, Florida, or, Southern California or Seattle like yourself. And I think that's one thing that's really cut us so deep, is just the fact that when you look at sports, it is the place where maybe there's the most harmony, where maybe people get along the best. Your team has been such a great example of that, of ways that guys can acclimate into a community that maybe they weren't used to before they got here, but then not only acclimate, but make a huge impact in it. What sort of example do you hope that your team has set and continues to set in terms of maybe showing people that don't have that opportunity how you can come together for a greater good, whether it's sports or otherwise?
I think that when you watch any team in sports have success or not have success, and follow them close enough to see why they were good and why they weren't, you realize at the end of the day, it's really one thing. It's a group of individuals coming together that take their own personal achievements, goals, and set them to the side and create a level of expectation, a goal, a dream for the group. And when they have success and accomplish it, then we as viewers have a chance to see so many people from so many different backgrounds come together and work together and have success doing it. And the reality is when you watch sports, when you watch Golden State Warriors, if you watch The Last Dance, you watch the Chicago Bulls, and if you follow that, those guys were so different in terms of their backgrounds and where they came from. And none of them had a similar background to their head coach. None of them had a similar background to the GM or the owner. They were all so different, and they came together and dominated. Why? Dennis Rodman was completely different than Michael Jordan, but they found a way to coexist. They allowed each other to be different as long as each individual person didn't lose sight on what they were trying to accomplish. Well, that's what our country is supposed to be, and it's not. We say it's the best country. We're the best. We're this. We're that. That's because we want to be that. So we just keep saying that as if it's going to happen. It's like a team showing up going, well, we got the best talent. We're going to win a championship. We're better than everybody. And you lose 20 games. Well, just because you said it doesn't make it true. You have to act like it. And so I think sports is an example of what it's supposed to look like. And I had a former player of mine, I've said this before, that said, when you look at our country, we look like a group of bad teammates.
So
on the same page, or we don't know what the goal is of our coach. We know what he's trying to accomplish for himself, but we don't know what he wants for us. And whatever it is that he wants to accomplish doesn't fit all of us. We all won't be celebrating at the end of the day. And if you don't have some goals that we all enjoy celebrating, we can't work together. And sports shows you how to do that.
Last question for me on this, Coach, but in the interest of listening and in general, I just offer you the floor. The audience you're speaking to right now, our audience is overwhelmingly white, a lot of men, and usually pretty big sports fans too. So there's the demographic. And when we sit here and go, okay, well, what do we need to know from you as an African-American, for you as, living your second home in Missoula, Montana, and what we can learn, what is that? What would you say to us as a group?
I think the biggest thing is education. We have to educate ourselves about each other. And for us, it's a lot easier because when we start school, and from kindergarten to 12th grade, the black race is learning about the history of the white race, America, even other countries, right? But there's no one in the world that is truly learning about the history of the black race in America. It's not in a book, not in any book that's being taught in school. For 1 month every year, some teachers might YouTube a couple stories, order a couple Amazon books, and teach about a couple people. And it's the same people over and over and over. Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King, and the peaceful protests, stances that were made, and here's the outcome of those. And then on March 1st, we move on like they never happened again. And the reality is that as a race, we played a very important role into where this country is now in terms of how it was built. And there's a lot of people that were behind the scenes on a lot of activities that took place that are very important moments that no one would ever know about. And that needs to be included into these books. So the reality and the answer to your question, because I kind of went around in a circle, to me, is exactly what we do as a program. When we travel and we check into a hotel, a kid from Australia is going to room with a kid from Oakland. A kid from Los Angeles is going to room with a kid from Bozeman. And every time we travel, we rotate those roommates. But you're never rooming with someone that has the same background as you, because that's probably who you live with anyway, right? And it creates opportunities to make statements, watch things on TV that might lead to a conversation that you wouldn't naturally have sitting down at the table eating dinner for 45 minutes. It just allows guys to share experiences. And if you're in the same program for 4 years and guys come and go as they graduate and new groups come behind you, you leave the University of Montana after 4 or 5 years with an education you never get in a book. And I think as a community, we owe that to each other, is to educate each other. And sometimes these conversations will be uncomfortable, but they're necessary for us to move forward. And the reason it's 2020 and we're still having this conversation and the protests are taking place the way they are, and there's a lot of people that don't understand how we got to this point, is because they don't have an education on where we are and where we started. For a community to not know about Juneteenth until this year, you throw out things like Jim Crow laws, Black Code. There's Black people that don't know about these things, much less anyone else in America. Well, if you don't understand those things, you have no idea why we feel the way we feel about the police. And so it's all education, it's all shared information. But until we get comfortable in rooms with one another and just having casual conversation that might lead into some of these types of things, change won't take place because we're not comfortable with where it might go.
To tie all that back around to sports then, Austin Rivers had an interesting comment last night. Somebody asked him, do you think that the NBA championship this year should have an asterisk next to it because of the shortened season? He said, absolutely, I think they should have an asterisk next to it, but not because it's the easiest championship that we'd ever have to win, but because it's going to be the hardest that an NBA team would ever have to win. Not only do you have to take 3 to 4 months off and then go back to playing, but also you're, in the NBA's perspective, you're going to be quarantined in a place where you're completely separate from your family. But then you talk about the global pandemic, and you also talk about all the protests and the riots and Black Lives Matter and all these different things that can be distractions. So from a basketball perspective, the one place where African Americans are the majority is going to be Division I college basketball and the NBA. How do you manage that mental strife that your players might be experiencing for the things that are going on in the world when it comes to how it might affect them on the basketball court?
2 answers. One is, let's say the Lakers win the championship. Instead of an asterisk, there should be a highlight. And the reason of the highlight is because Avery Bradley's not playing. So one, they earned the championship. But we're going to highlight it because Avery Bradley should get a humanitarian award because he took that time off to help progress his people and have an impact in his community. Right now, he's having conversations with 14 to 21-year-olds in his community. And he's decided that there's something more important than that title. And if that team wins without him, they both won. Right? That's 2 wins. And to me, that's perspective on what life is like being Black. The reality is, yeah, it is going to be a little more difficult this year to compete under these circumstances, but not for the Black athlete, because our life has been like this our entire life. We were born into this adversity. So this is not a new conversation for us, right? It's the other people that are on our teams and on our staffs. This is new to them. And this could be hard for them. So, yes, it will be more difficult for a new group of people.
Travis Zakir joining us, head coach of the University of Montana men's basketball team. Coach, I know that you've talked now about having separation from your players. I know they're back in town now, but where are we at here the 1st of July in terms of basketball and the state of affairs with your team, your roster? From a not just a health standpoint, but in a shape standpoint, cardio, basketball skills, all that kind of stuff. How have they been in this time away?
They've been on their own for a long time. And so the answer to the questions, I don't know. Guys have been posting videos. They tell you they're doing things. Some guys are a little more motivated than others that you kind of have a feel for. They're probably showing up in shape and worked on some weaknesses or whatnot. And the others, it's kind of wait and see, right? The biggest thing is, every head coach talks about how much they love their players and their team and they miss their guys. And the reality is that you feel it in these types of situations because you're away from them for so long. And this week is the first week that they've been able to pop into the office. And so, we've been in the office now for 2 weeks, and Monday was, the first time that guys start popping in, and now guys are coming in here 3-4 times a day. And I miss these casual conversations. It's been a long time since I've been able to tell a joke face to face and tease guys and see them laugh and maybe have them fire back at me. And it's the casual conversation that we've been missing. And it's been all business for the last 3 months with this group in terms of finishing up the semester academically, taking care of business to register for classes. And so we haven't had that time that is relationship building. And so that's the biggest thing for us that right now is more important, is playing catch up in that regard, more so than who can get up and down the floor, who can make an open shot, who can pass the ball. We'll get to that point, but right now I'm just enjoying having these guys pop in the office.
You took the next question right out of my mouth. I loved your analogy of America being a team, and we need to be on the same team, and we need to find some sort of leadership to galvanize us so we can play together instead of playing separately. But on that note, I think that your team, the roster, the talent's undeniable, but it's just a matter of how do you get it to fit all together, right? I think that's probably the number one question mark for Montana going this next year is who fills the rotation? How do those guys play with one another? Is there a way to cultivate that right now when you can't really be together like you normally would?
Well, one of the biggest questions for us right now is leadership. You have 3 seniors walk out the door that led in their own special way, had their own experiences that were very healthy for a young group. Now we don't return anyone that's ever been in a leadership role for the University of Montana, not one person. You have a sophomore that's played more minutes than anyone in our group of returners. Now, you have some transfers. You have some guys that sat out that are experienced, just not in maroon and silver. So I think for us right now, we've got so many new faces and so many guys that are very talented that until we get on the floor together, split up in groups, create a competitive environment, we're going to have a hard time feeling out who can give us what when. And so it looks like in a short period of time, there's going to be a high level of competition for an opportunity to get on the floor and participate.
Travis DeCuire, the head coach of the Montana men's basketball team, joining us. Coach, last question for me. Not talking about the starting five now, because you've had some great starting units in your time with the Grizzlies, but top to bottom, full roster. When you look through the names and the skill sets on here, it's pretty impressive. Is this the most talented total group that you've had since you've been at Montana?
Probably. It's also the youngest. But I think if you go top to bottom, 1 to 16, that you can make a valid argument that I don't know if the starting five is more talented, experienced than what we had in 18, 19, and if you look at it, you got 3 guys that ended their careers in the top 6 in scoring, one of which did it in 3 seasons. So there's some serious accolades for this young group to achieve, to become that talented when you look at your top 5 to 8 guys, right? But you start going 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, I think that you're going to have a hard time finding a more talented young group, whoever falls into those spots in that rotation. That's the biggest thing about it is I think that 1 through 6 were pretty much defined for 3 years here. And, the rest of the guys are kind of fighting for 7, 8, 9, 10. Those things were pretty much interchangeable over 2 years. Whereas right now, you can probably go ahead and take, 2 or 3 guys and pull them out and say, all right, have at it. And there's a guy that could maybe fall into the starting lineup that very easily could fall down to 12.
We'll get you out of here on this then. Optimistically, what is the next 30 days? What does the next 60 days hold for Grizz basketball? I mean, what do you hope to get done? What can you get done?
Best case scenario for us, make a lot of shots these next 3 weeks individually in small groups. We'll be testing these guys at least twice between now and the 20th. If we're healthy, clean, clear, as of now, according to the NC2A, July 20th is the first day we can actually have interaction with them and pull the voluntary off of the workout and start putting these guys into some groups and getting after it, maybe teach a little bit, but if anything, just compete and bang up against each other and not be afraid to do that. And so then we'll have about a month of that before August 19th when school starts. And at that point, we just continue. Usually you'd have 10-day window where we'd finish up the summer, guys go home, they're on their own for 10 days, come back, school starts, build them back up again. And now we'll go straight through. So minus any speed bumps, this could work out where it's a smooth stretch right into non-conference with no breaks and maybe the build-up's better. So we're looking forward to, right now, just getting guys tested and seeing them get through a week or 2 with no one testing positive. And then the biggest jump will be July 20th if we can get everybody on the floor and start to have contact with one another and stay healthy through that before school starts.
Travis, as always, we appreciate you, your perspective very much, and are excited for what we hope is a smooth ramp into a season that is going to be a very exciting one for Montana basketball. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me once again.
Travis DeCuire, head coach, University of Montana men's basketball team, subject of our Opportunity Bank Coaches Corner. Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. We will have that, obviously, in the podcast, as always. The whole show is podcasted out there for you, but we will put that interview out individually as well and have it for you once we wrap up the show here today, so you can listen to that at your leisure. And again, if you missed the first part of that, first of all, listen to it. It's great. But also, Travis DeCuire on a New Angle podcast with our friend Justin Angle over at the University of Montana, business professor at the university, and his episode with Justin will come out, I believe, the 14th of July. So New Angle podcast drops every Tuesday, and so they got a couple in line here, but that one with Travis DeCuire will come out the 14th, and I am, for one, looking very forward to that because it's going to be outstanding, as any conversation with Coach DeCuire is. We shift from Travis DeCuire, Montana basketball, the state of the nation at large, into wings. It is a nice thing to be able to have wings too, especially if they're from the Desperado Sports Tavern, and especially if they are free, which they will be to you if you call right now. 361-3688, 361-3688. We got wings from the Desperado Sports Tavern, a little bit of trivia. It's Coulter's trivia. I'll try and help you out. Get you a gift card to go over there to the Desperado and enjoy some wings on us. 361-3688. Wing It Wednesday next. Listen, I know you know 5 realtors, and I know your brother-in-law's cousin is a realtor, and your mom's best friend's daughter is a realtor. But can those realtors juggle knives? Can those realtors swallow fire? Can those realtors walk across hot coals? Well, neither can Aaron Pignano. But he can give you the best service and take good care of you when you're buying or selling your home. Whether you're a first-time buyer or have done this a few times, call Aaron Pignano at 406-241-0024. That's 406-241-0024. Or check out search406.com.
There's a reason the Desperado has been voted best wings and sports bar in Missoula. Start with the wings. Despo wings are never frozen, which is why they're always big, juicy, and tender. And the burgers and steaks at the Despo? They purchase them each day from a butcher shop right here in town. And when it comes to drinks, the Despo has the coldest beer on tap and is always served in a frosty mug. All this plus the NFL ticket every Sunday, Grizz games, and the friendliest staff in town. The Desperado Sports Tavern, across from the Y on Russell.
Summer is here, so get out of the house and play some golf at the picturesque Canyon River Golf Club. Canyon River boasts a pristine 18-hole championship golf course sitting along the Clark Fork River in the beautiful mountain valley of East Missoula. The course is meticulously manicured and in perfect shape to give you the challenge and fun you're looking for. Visit CanyonRiverGolfClub.com to book your tee time online and save big all season. You've been cooped up, so get out and play at Canyon River Golf Club.
Blaine McElmurray knows what you can achieve through hard work as an athlete from a small town in Montana. The Troy native rose up to become an All-American safety for the Grizzlies on UM's 95 National Championship team before spending time playing in the NFL. McElmurray has also used those values in his work at McElmurray Homes. Since 2003, McElmurray Homes has helped contract and subcontract some of the Garden City's finest houses. McElmurray Homes is committed to offering quality custom service, quality products, and the best prices throughout any project. And McElmurray Homes is also a proud supporter of high school athletes around the state of Montana.
Hello, Montanans. Times have been uncertain, but we here at the Montana Club have relished seeing how our communities have pulled together. We've been grateful to serve you delivery and takeout, which we will continue to do, and we are excited to announce that our dining room is open again. Thank you for supporting us during this time. We can't wait to see you and serve you all of your Montana Club favorites. As always, we are here for you. We are Montana. Welcome back to the club, the Montana Club, on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
The sports memorabilia and trading card industry is heating up because of an increased demand, a global market, and reinvigorated collection and collectors. Specialty trading cards have never been more popular. Whether you are interested in checking out some of the hottest items on the market or perusing through a catalog of some of your favorite vintage players, Zootown Sports Cards offers the most elite options in all of Western Montana. Start your collection or bolster it today by stopping into Zootown Sports Cards at the corner of Higgins and South in Missoula.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, Ryan Tootell, Colton Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. The answer is, who's the dumbest one, Colter? That's the one we got to figure out. Then you'll know the answer. Sorry, just had to finish our conversation. Minor League Baseball, it's officially over. Before it even began, the MILB announced Tuesday that the 2020 season has been canceled from coast to coast. The minor league campaign previously been on hold nationwide due to the coronavirus pandemic. And Major League Baseball has informed its MILB affiliates that it would not provide players to fill their rosters for the remainder of the year. The Rookie Advanced Pioneer League, which includes Billings, Great Falls, and Missoula teams, is scheduled to open on June 19th. This will mark the first time they won't play a season in that league since the Second World War.
On Tuesday afternoon, the Darby School Board sent out an alert that they would revise their decision over embattled head football coach Jeff Snavely. The school board then announced that Snavely will be suspended for an entire season, whether that comes this fall or later on. The decision is a revision to a previous decision to retain Snavely after the longtime Darby coach made a social media posting on May 31st that allegedly suggested Black Lives Matter protesters in Salt Lake City should be hanged.
Two former Montana State women's basketball standouts have signed professional contracts to play in Europe this fall. Fallon Frigge and Claire Lundberg are both headed to Sweden to play in their professional league. This Sports Center is brought to you by Aaron Pignano of Exit Realty in Missoula.
What's wrong? You've been asking, but I don't have an answer.
Welcome back to Tootell Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. If you want to do a Wing It Wednesday, give us a call, 361-3688, 361-3688. We'll get you wings to the Desperado Sports Tavern, the best wings in the whole city of Missoula, and you'll get them for free. How great is that? Just answer a couple of questions. We'll set you up, 361-3688. At Gus Tootell, at 102.9 ESPN, and at Skyline Sports MT, where you want to go on Twitter if you're looking for anything having to do with us and the show, etc. So we'll look for you out there on that. We appreciate it very much. Coulter, a couple of things going on today. First of all, the NFL announcing, or I guess sources saying, that the NFL is planning to shorten its preseason to 2 weeks this season. 2 weeks. This is the thing that everybody who is involved in the sport of football, players, coaches, etc., has been screaming for. It obviously doesn't do the owners any good because they're making the same amount of money on a preseason game they're making on a regular season game, basically, in terms of the gate, the ticket prices, etc. Obviously, attendance is not nearly as high, but the season ticket is built into it. So many huge season ticket holding places, they bank on the preseason games. Now they will only have one home preseason game as opposed to two. Do you think that this is a reality that will last in the NFL?
No.
For the very reason that I just outlined.
I think that the NFL owners will never respect NFL players' rights. I think they'll never be treated like humans. I think they'll only be treated like commodities. I think that every opportunity that every NFL owner ever has to make money, they will take and exploit and not care one bit unless it's their prized quarterback getting hurt, if anybody else gets hurt and their career ends, because that's just the state of football as we know it in the professional ranks.
We've missed short drives to see friends, long drives to see family. We've missed road trips, car camping, heck, we've even missed commuting. We're grateful to be getting back on the road, and Les Schwab wants to help you drive safe, just like we always have. To help get you rolling again safely, we're happy to offer up to $110 off a set of 4 select tires. Les Schwab Tires. Doing the right thing matters. Limited time offer while supplies last. Actual discount amount depends on tire size and type. Cannot be combined with other offers. Details at leschwab.com.
Mazda is making it worth your while to buy new and to buy now at Flanagan Motors Mazda. Through the close of business Monday, July 6th, buy any new in-stock 2020 Mazda CX-30, Mazda CX-5, or Mazda CX-9 at Flanagan Motors Mazda and receive the following with your good credit. No money down and 0 interest for up to 63 months, plus your first payment won't be due for 3 months. In addition, everybody gets a rebate on a new Mazda of up to $2,500. We are open the 1st through the 3rd and closed Saturday the 4th and Sunday the 5th, then open Monday the 6th for the final day of Mazda's Independence Day sale. If you've already made plans for the holiday weekend, no problem. Shop online at FlanaganMotors.com. Use our online shopper tool to help you value your trade grade, estimate payments, and apply for financing. Call 721-1381 or stop by Flanagan Motors Mazda in Midtown Missoula. Stay safe, Missoula. Manage your exposure and celebrate responsibly.
ANAGEAN Motors.
The world of real estate is always evolving. That's more true now than ever. If you are a longtime Missoulian that is looking to upgrade or downsize, it might be the best time yet to sell. If you are in the position to buy something new, today might be the best time to buy. And no matter what questions you have when it comes to residential or commercial real estate, Mike Nugent and the professionals at Berkshire Hathaway in Missoula have your answers. To find out what Mike can do for you, give him a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
Hello, Montanans. Times have been uncertain, but we here at the Montana Club have relished seeing how our communities have pulled together. We've been grateful to serve you delivery and takeout, which we will continue to do, and we are excited to announce that our dining room is open again. Thank you for supporting us during this time. We can't wait to see you and serve you all of your Montana Club favorites. As always, we are here for you. We are Montana. Welcome back to the club, the Montana Club, on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Listen, I know you know 5 realtors, and I know your brother-in-law's cousin is a realtor, and your mom's best friend's daughter is a realtor. But can those realtors juggle knives? Can those realtors swallow fire? Can those realtors walk across hot coals? Well, neither can Aaron Pignano. But he can give you the best service and take good care of you when you're buying or selling your home. Whether you're a first-time buyer or have done this a few times, call Aaron Pignano at 406-241-0024. That's 406-241-0024. Or check out search406.com.
Tootell and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
I just thought it was so well said that there was nothing to add to it. Let's just get out, you know? Excellently done by you, Colton.
We've talked about so many different real scenarios, hypothetical scenarios. The incessant trying to predict the future in the current state of the world is really wearing my brain out. I can't imagine what it's like to be Montana Athletic Director Kent Haslam or Montana State Athletic Director Leon Costello or a variety of the other 355 Division I athletic directors. Brutal. One scenario we haven't explored, though, we talked about, what if a president of a university and or a athletic department decided that they were going to basically just, for lack of a better word, boycott having sports until all of this pandemic passes. If it ever does, who knows? That's another mystery of it all. We saw Morehouse State State cancel football.
That's right.
Said it's not worth our time or money. It would be a stark loss for us no matter what. We're not going to have it. One thing we haven't talked about, because we were just talking about NFL and player rights and the way owners treat players in the NFL or lack thereof. We haven't addressed, though, what if college football players don't want to play?
Mm-hmm.
It's gaining ground on Twitter. I think that so many guys are so dedicated to the concept of a team, and by and large, all the Montana State players and coaches that we've talked to are optimistic and want to have a season, and that's what they live for. That's what it's all about. But I do think there's a growing trend on Twitter of student athletes saying, especially in the Power 5 conferences where even if the stands are empty, the schools are still going to make so much money. There's a growing number of guys on Twitter saying, I just don't know if I want to play. I don't know if I want to be involved in an organization that it takes that much effort and being around that many people so consistently. Because even if you have an empty stadium, you still have to have 250 people on the sidelines to have a college football game and another 100 upstairs to make it work, if not more than that. And so I just wonder if that gains any traction where student athletes just say, hey, we just don't want to do it.
It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know what ramifications would be if they chose to do that or go that way. I mean, you're seeing individuals from a number of sports, baseball, basketball, say, I'm sitting the rest of this one out for various individual reasons. And whether that would happen in bulk in a college sport for some reason, it's always possible. It's Tootell Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. By the way, if you would like to listen to the podcast, feel free. The podcast available wherever you get your podcasts. It's there thanks to our friends at Alpine Touch and our friends at Blackfoot.
I thought Travis DeCuire's comments on Avery Bradley were really good. For those that maybe don't know, and Travis is never one to say, he's never one to tout his own personal connections, but I can almost guarantee you that Travis DeCuire has a relationship with Avery Bradley. He's from Tacoma. And he's been one of those. I mean, the Seattle basketball community, as we've talked extensively on this show, is a tight-knit one. I mean, as we know, Ahmad Rory is a phone call away from guys like Jamal Crawford and Jason Terry. So I'm sure that they've all crossed paths, at the local runs and all that stuff with Avery Bradley too. But I thought Coach DeCuire's talking points about him were really good too. If the Lakers win a championship and Avery Bradley's not a part of it, he's still a part of it because he's in his community educating people, and he's also doing what's best for his family. So we should acknowledge that.
It's a win-win. That's what he said, yeah.
I just won't be surprised if more athletes don't take that course of action, especially if you're an amateur athlete who's not getting paid. It is a huge risk, no matter what politicizing goes on. It's a huge risk to be in an arena playing a contact sport. So, I don't know. I think there's a lot to be determined here. Just another scenario to consider.
One reason, very loosely related to what you've just said, that Adam Silver is pretty widely considered the best commissioner in sports. You know how much it's going to cost the NBA to run this 3-month season finish in Orlando?
$150 million?
$150 million. They are housing 22 teams in 3 different resorts. They have 7 practice arenas, 3 playing arenas. Food for all, including staff and everybody up to 1,500 people. Entertainment, and all of it. And it's a huge, huge cost. And Adam Silver said to Time Magazine earlier this week, it comes into play that we feel an obligation to our sport and to the industry to find a new normal. It doesn't come into play in terms of dollars and cents. Frankly, it's not all that economical for us to play on this campus. It's enormously expensive, end quote. When a commissioner, who, by the way, is still employed by the owners of his sport, and so thereby speaks for the owners of his sport, gets up there and says, we think we have an obligation to the sport. We think we have an obligation to the state of affairs that exists in the world to do what we're doing and do it the way that we're doing it. And I would say latent in there is an obligation to the fans. I mean, that's within the scope of an obligation to the sport, to the fans of the sport, to do it. And we're going to lose money doing it. It's going to cost us a ton to do it, but we think it's the right thing to do and we should do it. Hey, Major League Baseball, take some notes. You know what I mean?
The NFL doesn't have to care about the fans because gambling and fantasy football run pro football. Mm-hmm. The Major League Baseball owners refuse to care about the fans for no other defined reason besides stupidity. Mm-hmm. And the NBA, from the commissioner on down, since David Stern took over, through now Adam Silver, has cared about the fans. It's fantastic. That's what that's always been about. That's why it's the best sports league in America.
We'll wrap up the week tomorrow, boys and girls. See you then, ESPN Radio.
Garden City Paint and Glass is ready to help you with your summer home improvement projects. Their trained staff can help you with your painting and staining projects, setting you up with the right colors and the right brushes, rollers, and painting preparation, and they can even color match and custom